What's up, you guys? Today's video is all about a guy named Hardy, who is someone that you may or may not have heard of, but is having one of the hugest years in country music.
But I'm rednecker than you, yes I am.
Now, you might know him from his single Rednecker, which has become a minor hit in the past year, and it's a song that no one has quite been able to figure out whether it's ironic or serious, but people like it either way. I personally think Rednecker is hilarious. I think it is in on the joke, and I think it completely takes the piss out of the whole kind of like country street cred argument that people are always getting into of who's countryer, so I love that song. But as successful as Rednecker has been, Hardy has actually been much more successful in the past year as a songwriter, and he is scoring big cuts left and right. Not only is he the guy behind probably the biggest country single of the year, which is God's Country by Blake Shelton, he's also the guy behind like half of Florida Georgia Line's new album, including the two singles Simple and Talk You Out of It. He's behind Chris Lane's I Don't Know About You. He wrote Morgan Wallen and Florida Georgia Line's Up Down. And he's just like, it's showing no signs of stopping how many cuts this guy is getting.
Up a handle instead. Hell right. Hell right.
All that said, songwriters don't usually get a lot of attention, and except for the commenters on this channel who absolutely love Hardy, and so many of you guys have been wanting me to check him out, I would forgive you if you didn't know who Hardy was, and part of that is to blame on kind of the branding around him, because as he's gone from being a songwriter to being an artist in his own right, I would say that there has been some confusion, to say the least. The first pictures came out and it was like, oh, this is your cool stepdad who drops you off at school and then goes and has a piece of pie with his favorite waitress Brenda at the diner. Then the next set of promo pictures came out and it was like, no, actually Hardy is this theater goth that goes in the woods and huffs glue every day after school. And over time, he's kind of morphed into this sort of beer-soaked hellcat and like a country Post Malone type person. So let's try to answer the question, who is Hardy? Hardy was actually born Michael Hardy in a town called Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's under 8,000 people in that town, and strangely, it is also the place where Marty Stewart, country legend, is also from. He attended Middle Tennessee State University and actually got a degree in commercial songwriting. I don't mean he was making jingles for Pringles, although I just made one by accident just now, jingles for Pringles. It just meant songwriting that was meant to be mass appealing. And certainly, I think he's putting his degree to good use. Now, if you scour the internet for videos of Hardy, you're not gonna find much except for the last couple years. I did find this one video from like 7 years ago where he's singing a song about fishing.
I ain't gone missing, no I'm gone fishing, just chilling on a bass boat, reeling in a pig.
But for the most part, there's not much out there about what Hardy was doing over the past decade. At some point over the last few years, though, he fell into the same songwriting circle as Florida Georgia Line. And by their encouragement and real pushing, he has ended up stepping more into this role as artist. Now he's releasing his own music, and he attributes a lot of that to their encouragement. And I do think it's cool that Florida Georgia Line, they really do encourage artists. Whether or not they're your cup of tea, you don't really hear people have a bad thing to say about them in the industry. Now, Hardy is in kind of, for lack of a better term, a frat pack within Nashville. Guys like FGL and Jake Owen and Morgan Wallen, who he's developed an especially close relationship to. I don't know what to call this frat pack. To me, it's like the epitome of White Claw culture. It's just kind of carefree and dumb and definitely an expression of machismo. It's entertaining and funny, but it's also often pretty shallow and stupid. And I've really seen how young fans are enjoying following the friendship and sort of self-supporting nature of this club. Now, I think what Florida Georgia Line clearly noticed in Hardy is really true, and that is that he's an excellent songwriter. The guy just has a way with words. And you don't have to like his music to really appreciate this guy knows what he's doing in terms of creating a hook. I get the sense he was a big Brad Paisley fan growing up because of his sort of love of wordplay and humor, and just the way he phrases things shows that this is someone that enjoys words and enjoys framing things just so. Take a song like Up Down. That's a smart, dumb song.
Hey, I turn it up, down, up, down, up, down.
Everything in the song are things that go up, down. So if you're on a boat, it's rocking up, down. If you're holding a beer, it's going up, down. If you're at a concert, your hands are going up, down. It's dumb, but it's almost like he can take these little phrases and spin a whole song out of them. Even a song I don't like at all, like I Don't Know About You by Chris Lane.
I don't know about you, but I never come into this spot.
It's a smart hook. It starts off with him being at a bar, Chris Lane saying, I don't know about you, and he starts this conversation with this girl. But by the end of the chorus, it's flipped, and he's telling this girl, tell me everything till there's nothing I don't know about you. So instead of just starting a conversation, it's really spinning it forward into something romantic. I also think you get a lot of examples of his love of alliteration, consonants, and assonance in his songwriting. On something like, I have his song, Boys from the South, pulled up right here. Big dip spittin' in a big gulp cup. All those I sounds, big, dip, spittin', you get the repetition of big. He likes that kind of thing. On another song like Rednecker, which is his hit, he says, I got a bigger buggin' bass on my wall. So you're getting the B of bigger, buck, and bass. And you can just tell he likes words. And I think that comes through clearly in all of his songs, and it's something to be commended. Now, what I found that's really interesting about how I respond to Hardy's songs is the ones that get a more sort of R&B style production, that cleverness of his songwriting reads as insanely douchey to me, and they make my skin crawl. Like a song like I Don't Know About You viscerally rubs me the wrong way. They feel too smooth when they're given that kind of sexier vibe. However, when they're given a kind of more playful, rocking vibe, I read these songs as incredibly funny and clever, and there's something that's just irresistible about them to me. I get the sense that a lot of you guys feel similarly divided. I asked on Instagram before shooting this video, hey, if anyone has any thoughts on Hardy, let me know. So first off, we have some positive comments about him. One of you says, I'm obsessed. One of you says he's the smartest guy in the business. One of you says he's a very fun guy and makes music he lives and loves. And a lot of praise. He is smart as hell, he has such clever lyrics, he's grown on me quite a bit. You get a few more neutral comments. Someone said, this is the DJ Khaled of country music.
Another one.
Another one you said on here, he enjoys being the sidekick. That's an interesting thought, and they kind of go together.
And another one.
Someone says he tries too hard, he's trying too hard to be a real redneck. And then there are some people that feel really negatively about him. People need to stop saying this guy is saving country music. Another response, it's a horrible representation of the current Nashville and Nashville songwriting. I don't know where this one falls, but I just like it. Hardy's that one childish uncle who skateboards everywhere. So you guys don't know what to do with him either, and I think that's okay. I think that's totally okay. Hardy is intriguing if nothing else, and I'm enjoying following him. Now, like I said, I like Rednecker, and of the 2 EPs that he has put out, I really think Signed Sober You is becoming the obvious sort of runaway hit.
Don't think about it, mister. Don't even
It's a smart song about a note that he left to himself, signed Sober You, that he's supposed to read when he's drunk and tell him not to call this girl, not to go for this booty call. But he actually just released a thing that he's calling Hicks Tape, which is obviously a play on Mixtape. It's featuring 17 other people, and Hardy is a co-writer on all the songs, but I guess this is kind of part of that frat pack that I was saying, although there are 2 women that are kind of featured on this album. So let me do just a mini review of that now. How to get over onto the review side of the screen. Now, the first thing I think about Hixtape is that it's really overwhelming to look at on a screen. You look at it, and every song title has, in parentheses, Hardy in all caps, and you get all of the artists that are featured. You also get them underneath, and so there's a lot of words. So if you can just take a deep breath, filter out kind of all of the other stuff on the screen, and just really look at the song titles and take them as they are, it becomes a much easier album to digest, and really something that I think is pretty darn good. I feel like Hardy hacked bro country. I feel like this is a good album. Now, Hardy's working with Joey Moy on this album, and Joey Moy very famously produced Nickelback, very famously has produced Florida Georgia Line, and generally I don't like his production that much. It's a little too bombastic and a little too compressed at the same time. But this album kind of breathes. There's actual steel guitar that you're allowed to hear. There's not these like overly loud percussive elements. That's not to say this is some traditional album, but to me, this is a way better balance of the traditional elements of country, along with this kind of poppier, rockier, R&B-ish production that he's kind of specialized in, and it really works. Trust me, I'm surprised I'm saying that. I am the Snaptrack guy, and I'm praising a Joey Moy album, but here we are. Subject matter-wise, I don't think we're treading in very interesting territory with this record. It's a lot of songs about enjoying the redneck life in small towns on back roads, and that's all well and good. Like I said, Hardy has a way of taking very similar, like well-tread concepts and turning them into something interesting with his wordplay. And I do think you can say he has done that many times on this record. Now, my favorite track on the record is actually one of these small town anthems. It's called My Kinda Livin'. The hook of this song almost reminds me of Mountain Music by Alabama, a little bit Song of the South too. It's a real sing-along chorus that I think is pretty irresistible. It says, "Take me down to where the beer is cold, the fish get fried, and the fireflies glow." That's such a more interesting way of saying it to like how so many Nashville songs are, where it's just, take me to where those two lanes meet, to that place where I grew up, to that place that made me me. You know, they just have these generic things and no real images. I think Hardy's good at images. Again, on another song that I really like called Redneck Tendencies, which features Trace Adkins and Joe Diffie, you get some smart writing. They're dropping all of these allusions to other country songs, whether it's Tennessee Whiskey or Neon Moon or Mama Tried. You know, those are slipped in, and not even in this big obvious way, just in a way that I'm like, wow, these guys really think about songwriting. There's another song on here called He Went to Jared, which features Morgan Wallen, and I find the production on it fairly overwhelming and overbearing, but such smart writing all through it. It's this or that kind of song. It's about a clean-cut guy that went to college and a guy that's a lot dirtier and rougher around the edges. He pushes paper, I push the dirt. He went to Jared, you know, to get a ring for the girl. I went to the bar. It's such like a smart, fun song. And I just think that as much as I kind of wanted to dislike Hardy out of some kind of pretentious critic thing, I'm just pretty impressed with this record. Now, there are definitely some songs that I don't care for at all. My least favorite of those songs is definitely No Place Like Hometown, which features Keith Urban. I think it's lacking a lot of the imagery that make me like Hardy's writing. And I just don't like anything that Keith Urban has done for a few years now. Now, for everything I've said about this album, I do think it's most important to say that I think where it really lacks is in variety. To me, it's not that interesting to have this many songs about just being a redneck and coming from a small town. I think that's maybe fine. Maybe you can make this many different songs about it, and it's almost like I feel like this was a songwriting challenge. How many songs that essentially mean the same thing can we make? It does make for a very repetitive album, and I actually feel very similarly to Riley Green's new record, which I know I still need to talk about. Beer and small town life and fishing, you can only go so far with that stuff. Even if you're choosing good words and good ways to say it and fun melodies, it just gets a little repetitive. Like, very repetitive. That's why I like when he kind of goes out of the box on a song like He Went to Jared, or on the album Closer, which is called One Beer. And this is a track that features Devin Dawson and Lauren Elena, two people I definitely have my eye on and whose work I'm very intrigued by. And it is about kind of an unplanned pregnancy that resulted from drinking too much and sleeping together. This has a ton of great wordplay on it, a lot of counting in the chorus, and an interesting vibe, kind of both just sad but real. It's very produced. It's definitely the poppiest thing on this record, but to me it kind of works and it's pretty intriguing. And I was like, whoa, this is what Hardy does when he's not just writing about being a redneck. And I really enjoyed it. So on the whole, I think I would give Hixtape a 7 out of 10. It seems like this would be a good album if you are with a bunch of your bros and wanting to think about being from the South and loving the South. And it's not always that serious, but I think there's actually a lot more meat on its bones than you might expect. I think instrumentally, it's better than you might expect. I think, like, songwriting-wise, it's way better than I was expecting. And I just think it's a little messy in the cartoon graphics of it, and there's too many artists. And I'm excited for when Hardy puts out an album and he can kind of make a statement, because I just think he's got a cool way of saying things, and it makes it way more fun to listen to than so much Nashville songwriting. So this is a very positive video, but I think I'm just trying to wrap my mind around him, because sometimes I really dislike him, sometimes I really like him, and I don't know. This is just my messy video on kind of like bleh about Hardy, because he's complicated. So that's it for me, guys. You guys tell me what your thoughts are on Hardy. Am I crazy to be liking him or not? I feel like a lot of people are just judging the branding, but maybe that's just me. I want to hear from you guys, so let me know in the comments down below. Hit like on this video if you liked it. Share it if you think it's worth sharing. Hit the bell and subscribe if you've never been here before. I love you guys, and I will see you soon.